count that he's only played a few away from number 8. He just beats Willie Duggan's tally of 39, but he did get a few caps at number 6, I think. So we'll have to just find out about that in future, but he certainly is well up there now with his 40th cap today. He's played most of his rugby, of course, at number 8, the last 30 plus of them. Second half underway at Murrayfield. Scotland 0, Ireland 13. In 1985, when Ireland last won, Gorbachev was just starting in the Kremlin. Rock Hudson had just died, and Back to the Future was the movie to see. Long time ago. Ireland starting well here. Once again, Victor Costello, he's certainly earning his fee today and going very well. The number of times he has led from the base of the scrum on the Rock has been terrific. Drop goal attempt by Brian O'Driscoll, far too optimistic, but you never know. Well taken by Glenn Metcalf. I didn't expect him to drop that. Yeah, just trying to kick them away. Right down to Hickey. Into O'Driscoll once again.
And driven the forces of Spectra off the planet's Arcadia. My new world is at peace again.
After G-Force had blown up the evil baddies, at the end of every show, there'd be like a moral.
Someday he'll understand.
Maybe. But right now, let him work out his anger on me. Some realities are hard to face when you're just a kid.
That's very mature of you.
So you had all these fantastic scenes in space and battles in space, and then a nice kind of bit of morally parent advice at the end of the show.
One of the most exciting phrases any kid could hear at that time was, "It's Friday, it's 5 o'clock, it's Crackerjack!" And a half an hour of pure craziness. Get your voices ready, come on, let's say your shout. It's Crackerjack, Crackerjack. Don't me bass on telly, that's what it's all about. Oh, such a lovely word, it's Crackerjack! Crackerjack!
And we've got a cracker of a programme lined up for you. We have the Dooleys, we have Georgie Payne, we have Double or Drop, we have all sorts of things. A programme of great talent.
Crackerjack was like, you know, a junior sort of variety show, really. I mean, they, you know, live at the Palladium and all that kind of thing. But that really was the very, you know, they used to have a quiz, they used to have, you know, little dramas.
Maccabees, prepare to defend yourself.
And so I shall. On guard!
So you shall die! Oh, what are we going to do now?
There's only one thing we can do.
What's that?
Tickle each other to death.
Peter Glaze was the original Homer Simpson, because Peter Glaze is famous for one thing. Every week in Crackerjack, his final line would be, "Do, do, do." He must have said "do, do, do" many times throughout his career.
Wampum, wampum! Stick it on the jumper!
What is special about the features of a Manx cat? Shh. Quiet, please.
Double or Drop was Crackerjack's sort of top quiz element, you know, the game show moment.
His tail.
What about it?
It's fluffy.
No, it's not. He hasn't got one.
Basically, television must have been so much simpler then because it was a crap parlour game, you know, and yet the nation was riveted.
Sorry, darling. No tails on a Manx cat, so it's a second cabbage over this side.
It's an allegory of the class struggle. When they got something wrong, they were all given cabbages, cabbages being a symbol of their working class backgrounds, and these cabbages would weigh them down, stop them from holding on to the things that they had acquired.
Help, she shouts, because this week's winner has
True Thatcherites were able to hold on to their goods, avoid the cabbages at all costs, and win through at the end.
That's it.
I really can't understand how Crackerjack worked.
Who writes this rubbish?
We do.
It's very good, isn't it?
And you're thinking, who commissioned that? Who thought this was a good idea? It's taking a poor quality seaside special and doing it for kids. No!
It's 5 o'clock! It's Friday! And it's Crackerjack!
Oh, didn't they look young and innocent? Sooty and Sweep are at 38 in the days before their rock star lifestyle took a toll on their youthful looks.
Got him. After all these years.
I would just like to say what a privilege it is to be here in the 100 Top Kids programmes. Yeah, it's only natural that I'm included, as I am, without a doubt, one of the most versatile, talented geniuses in showbiz today. Thank you, Rat fans. Yeah.
Clever.
They're all made of wax.
Great.
Superstars always spend lots of money.
Anarchic. Boo! Dangerous.
Oi, wait a minute. This is my show, this is.
Would hate to be on with him, because I know I'd lose.
Talking about proper names for things...
No, we haven't got time. I've got to do the link. Shut up. TVAM was a right load of rubbish, wasn't it? You know, I mean, I came along and saved it because, quite honestly, it was pathetic and it needed somebody with my versatile showbiz personality to take over. Yeah.
Have you woken up yet to the newsmakers on TVAM?
Breakfast television was a completely unknown idea.
You know she's come all the way from Los Angeles for this interview, don't you?
But there were quite a lot of rats around, figuratively speaking, around TVAM at the time. And we were on the canal and I thought a rat would be funny.
Oh, good morning, Britain. Roland here.
The day that Roland went on television and went, "Hello, Britain," my husband said, "You be careful what you're doing, you know, this is terribly dangerous." But of course, you know, everybody loved it, the children loved it, and he got the first 1 million viewers for TVAM.
Now it's time once again to hand over to that matinee idol of the sewers, Roland Rat Superstar.
Yeah, Anne Diamond, of course, she fancied me. She used to work on the tills at Tesco's until she was discovered by me. Yeah. I like Anne. She's great, Anne, isn't she? Yeah. Incidentally, am I getting paid for this?
Many light years away, on the far side of the galaxy, lies Ark.
It involved 3 D-list, probably celebs, having to solve puzzles.
In this way.
No. Everything had to be an anagram of the word dragon.
Ronda, your highness.
Then you had the weird sort of money.
One Drogna.
And the store?
The first was the best one. It was the purest adventure game, I think. That was when it was hosted partly by Moira Stewart.
You're through that door over there, but first you've got to find out which are the safe squares.
And yes, there's a puzzle here. Solve it. I'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Problem solving was really kind of low rent because it took them kind of 2/3 of the show to actually solve the problems. If you knew what my stomach was doing now.
Don't bounce it because it may fall in the water.
I had a big row with a friend of mine recently. He didn't believe that they actually worked out the puzzles themselves, that the celebrities were sort of given a bit of guidance and told what to do, and I said, that's not true at all. Then I got to meet Maggie Philbin.
There's a plank here, and there's another barrel.
Yes.
She confirmed that they had no idea what the puzzles were.
Maybe you could come back here with that plank, but don't do it yet. And let's think, if you came back here with the plank, what could we do with it?
The final round was the vortex.
Oh, what?
If they stepped into the vortex, they got evaporated.
Oh!
It sounds a bit rubbish, actually, when you say it out loud, doesn't it? But at the time, it was wicked, I think. Very enjoyable.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the adventure game, and you'll join us again next week to confound and confuse 3 more time travelers. Until then, goodbye.
Okay, so let's be clear about this, right? There was a beagle called Fleagle, a gorilla called Bingo, an elephant called Snorky, and a lion called Drooper. Oh, and the lion had his own Dear Drooper part of the show where he dished out advice to kids. Do you think young people really needed drugs in the 60s when they had shows like this?
Jump in, we'll take you for a spin and show you round the wheelie world.
Making characters walk is a very slow and expensive process, so as it happened, they'd been born with wheels instead and trundled about quite happily, and they had ramps to go up and down. It was very PC, really, you know.
Show you all the sights of wheelie world.
The Wicked Witch, Fenella. Inside her kettle base had a bookstand, and on the bookstand was this huge tome.
Fritz von Spildebeans, the talking spellbook, who gave Fenella her useless spells which never worked.
A rotten spell I keep within my pages deep will turn the dragon into smoke.
And send them back to sleep. What is lovely? On the front of the book, because it was a magic book, it should have had the pentagram. Unfortunately, the artist who was supposed to be making the book was not very good at drawing 5-sided stars, so he drew a 6-sided star, and subsequently they sold the program to Israel.
I'll tell you now what the magic spiel is.
The people who were watching the show saw this as the Star of David. They heard the German voice coming out of it, and they were charging us with all sorts of anti-Semitic sentiments.
Oh, I hope we lost your wheels. And who are you?
I have to say, as in so many cases, we were innocent to the point of gormlessness, and no harm was intended.
Any room for a little one in there? You're not filming this, are you?
Now, my name is Roy North, and during the show, I shall be introducing the guest artists, singing a few songs, cracking a few gags.
I say, aren't plums cheap?
Pardon?
I said, aren't plums cheap?
What are you saying that for?
Well, I thought I'd better say something. It is my show, you know.
I know it is, Basil, and I've really been looking forward to this.
Oh, thank you, Mr. South. Marvellous.
North.
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my sense of direction.
Sunny day, sleeping up, clouds away. On my way to where the air is free. Getting down there, how to get to Sesame Street.
When Sesame Street came on the air in 1969, it was like nothing anyone had ever seen before.
Sally, you've never seen a street like Sesame Street. Everything happens here. You're gonna love it.
Sesame Street took place in a Brooklyn neighborhood with brownstones and garbage cans. When we look back on it, from today's perspective, it may not seem so radical. At the time, that was insane.
Hey, you out there in TV land, everybody watch!
This is 1969. Robert Kennedy had been killed. Martin Luther King had been killed in '68. There were riots. We had riots all over this country, burning cities. Every night the news was bringing you more bad news, and I said that people stood there and said to the TV set, so do something.
Everybody wash your ears!
Sesame Street was considered groundbreaking for a number of reasons. This amount of money had never been spent on a children's television program. This was adult budget.
I can do most anything, roller skating while I sing. See the world my special way, turn it upside down today.
It was groundbreaking because nobody had ever said, let's use commercials that are selling products to, quote, sell letters and numbers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Some people felt that because it had a fast style and a kind of psychedelic style sometimes, that it would get kids turned on to acid and onto drugs, that television was like a drug trip, and Sesame Street was the worst example of a kind of drug trip.
Bert, can you bring me a bar of soap? Yeah. Yeah, just toss it into old Rosie here.
Bert and Ernie, with big eyebrows, who lived a very strange, sort of almost gay couple existence.
There's Rosie. My bathtub. I call my bathtub Rosie.
It was rather like The Odd Couple or Eric and Ernie, you know, Morecambe and Wise, they used to sleep in the same bed together in their sketches.
Ernie, why do you call your bathtub Rosie?
What's that?
I said, why do you call your bathtub Rosie?
Because every time I take a bath, I leave a ring around Rosie.
Ernie, get out of the tub.
Thank you for allowing a monster into your living room. Okay,
Tootsie, bye, Mommy. Tootsie Footsie, ice cream. Ice cream, you don't want any.
No, get out, get out, get out.
Once we knew we had Jim Henson as our master puppeteer, we knew that we had an element that would appeal to adults. My granddaughter, when she was 9 months old, used to try to hug the TV set whenever Elmo would come on, or pat the glass to see if she could feel the fur that she knew was there from her dolls, her Elmo dolls. But it's an amazing phenomenon. It's just amazing.
You're watching the 100 Greatest Kids TV Shows, brought to you by the letter C and the number 4, and all voted for by you, the viewers. What old friendships we've renewed here tonight, and what fascinating tales we still have to tell. For instance, I've always wanted to know why Sweep squeaks instead of barks. I don't... what? Oh, I'm sorry. OK. He's been done by the vet.
Get the cool. Get the cool to shine.
You are 11 months old, growing about 0.5 millimeter every day, even while sleeping. Because we understand how vital sleep is to baby's development, to help, Pampers has created new Baby Dry. It absorbs faster for unbeatable dryness, to help you get the sleep you need to grow. When you see the world through a baby's eyes, you see how to make it better. Pampers absorbs faster for unbeatable dryness.
Right, get her something that smells nice. Hello, what's that? Oh, she'll love this.
Oats So Simple. The cold can dry your skin. Use a long-lasting moisturizer. Norwegian Formula Body Emulsion from Neutrogena. The cold can damage your hands. Protect them with one application. Norwegian Formula Hand Cream from Neutrogena. Relieves, moisturizes, protects.
Was it the big hug that helped her get over her block stuffy nose? Was it the bunch of flowers?
Oh, I wish I could smell them.
Or was it Vicks Sinex? Nothing gives you a faster feeling of relief. Only Vicks Sinex releases the cooling Vicks vapors and lasts for up to 12 hours. A caring way to clear a blocked nose fast. Vicks.
Yes. Yes. No. No. Yes. No.
Ever wanted to stop smoking, but find there are times it's really hard?
You can do it. There are sprays, patches, gum, lots of things to help you beat the cravings. And there's friendly help and advice too. Just phone the Smokers Helpline on 0800 85 85 85.
Good luck.
Another fantastic offer from Boots. Receive a health and relaxation day free when you spend £15 or more this week. Now available at Boots. Over 18s only.
Sex and the City. Can you ever really forgive if you can't forget?
I don't think so.
That's big.
That's the opposite of big.
PC user, you're not compatible.
Sex and the City Double Bill continues Wednesdays at 10 on 4. Get the cool.
Welcome back to the 100 Greatest Kids TV shows. Wave after wave of childhood nostalgia. In fact, it's like drowning and watching your life pass in front of you. Except it's just the first few years of your life. And it's taken 3 hours. That's very slow drowning.
Blue Peter, you feel, was run by parents and teachers. You know, they were sneaking in education. You know, even like an hour after school's finished, they were still trying to educate you.
Each new head of children's programmes who goes in thinks, I mean, it's been there such a long time, I ought to do something about this. And I thought this when I went in as head of children. I thought, really must tackle Blue Peter. And then you realise that it is absolutely at the heart of the schedule.
I feel now I was conned. I should have been watching Magpie, which is for cooler kids.
If you're happy and you know it, say we are, we are. If you're happy and you know it, say we are, we are.
Blue Peter was awful. I used to hate, even as a kid, I hated Blue Peter. It was awful. It was so twee. It was so staid. It was so full of nice little children pretending they liked butterfly collecting. I just found it so dull.
Sit down! Sit down! Good boy. Stay there.
No kids watch Blue Peter. That's a fact. No one watches it. And it's that dodgy 5:05 slot on BBC where they start doing things for slightly older kids. But they just get it really, really wrong, I think.
My driver was John Blocky, who became British champion a week after he took me down the run.
John was giving me the ride of a lifetime. We shot round every corner perfectly and got our speed up to around 90 miles an hour. But we didn't know that ahead of us there was a hole in the ice wall, and by 1,000,000 to 1 chance, we hit it.
Not so bad. I couldn't get out the sledge, yeah. But actually, the best bit really is my hip. You ought to see this. How about this for a bruise? Where is it? There.
There it is.
That's nice. You slid a long way on that, didn't you? I did, yeah.
I think I used to drive my mum a bit mad when I watched Blue Peter, because I'd always want to either start making cakes or giving her a big list of stuff that I needed from the shop that was going to come to about 20 quid.
That's for you.
You don't do yourself justice, you know. It's actually very light.
Anybody got an electric saw?
Let's take that.
Well, I was hormonally challenged by Blue Peter, because first of all, it was Valerie Singleton. I had a big thing about her. Big thing about Leslie Judd.
Oh. What have I got left?
That was pretty amazing, I can tell you.
And I don't know what kind of elemental hell I was going through, but I mean, the teachers at my primary school, they were ugly. And so, therefore, that was pretty much the only female role model I had to fall in love with.
Next up, Rhubarb and Custard, the wobbly tea time cartoon that looked like it was drawn on the bus going into work.
Jamie and the magic torch.
He'd shine a torch on the floor, create a hole, like a magic hole, because it's a magic torch, obviously. Then he'd go through the hole and then appear in this magic land.
Jamie and the magic torch.
We had bits of psychedelia and bits of trendiness, and we picked up influences wherever they were lying about.
What a magical place, and it's light as day. Oh, you be right, Master Jamie, said Wordsworth, who found, without too much surprise, that down here in Cuckoo Land he could talk.
Finding the voices for the characters is, I suppose, a whole series of associations. Mr. Boo is going to be obvious because he's effectively a mad professor.
So, I mean, all mad professors talk in a strange voice and have glasses on the end of their nose and say, oh dear, they seem to have got that slightly boom wrong. 42,009 and 42,010 leaves 1. I knew it. I'm 1 short.
I was old and young and a Gloucestershire dog.
Oh, where?
That's the way they talk. If you've ever talked to an old English sheepdog, you'd know.
Oh, careful now, Master Jamie. We don't want to lose him.
Don't worry, Wordsworth.
And in no time at all, Mr. Boo was airborne.
Now that, to me, as a child, was just the best. And no torch I ever tried would do that.
Time to go home, Master Jamie.
And there was the tree.
Thought Wordsworth. I likes my own bed.
That's a great show.
Top Cat was a great show, but I wonder about the bloke who first pitched it to the network.
The indisputable leader of the gang.
You know, like Sergeant Bilko? Yeah, it's sort of like that. And I went, oh, good. It's Wisecracker. He's in charge. He's in the army. He's not in the army, no. He's sort of in a gang, a street gang. They go, oh, current, good.
He's the boss, he's a vet, he's a championship.
It's brilliant. We love it. There's one other thing. Go on. It's cartoon cats instead of people. All right?
He's the most tip-top, top cat. Yes, he's the chief, he's the king, but above everything, he's the most tip-top, top cat.
SMTV is the first Saturday morning programme that's had the adult stroke children appeal since Tiswas.
Ant and Dec are the best thing that's happened to kids' TV, actually to TV, in this country for a long time.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Dec. We met once before we actually started the series. We actually we met up with Kat and we just knew straight away that we clicked and we were going to be friends. What have you got?
The main thing when we started was not to talk down to kids or patronise them.
Hello, we're the beautiful chorus. I'm the stunningly beautiful Sharon.
I'm the outstandingly beautiful Andrea.
And I'm the breathtakingly beautiful Caroline.
And I'm the not-so-beautiful Jim.
Shut your face there, Jim.
They're your mates, and I think that the way that their relationship works, you feel that you've been welcomed into it and you can kind of play a part in that whole banter yourself.
People often ask us, how can we be as beautiful as the beautiful chorus?
Oh, the beautiful chorus.
And we say to them, everybody is beautiful, just most people aren't as beautiful as us, the beautiful chorus.
Beautiful.
They clearly enjoy doing the programme. I think it's the sort of programme where if they weren't enjoying it, it just wouldn't be made.
Right, I'm off to practice.
Okay.
See you later. Bye.
We intentionally try and push the boundaries all of the time and try and, you know, some of the things we do are a bit saucy and a bit, you know, funny. And people say, can you get away with that on Saturday morning telly, on kids' telly? And we don't know if we can a lot of the time, but we just try it.
Chums is sponsored by Tyler's dual-purpose toilets. Whether you're making a cake or making it smell, choose a Tyler's.
Can I lick the bowl clean, Mummy?
Yes!
The Cat Deely aspect to that programme. So, you know, you've got your dads sitting at home there watching it with their kids, and there's a little bit of a special appeal there, if you know what I mean.
No more late nights out with the lads, no more chasing leggy, blonde, big-chested models around seedy nightclubs. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and you've got to change too.
I will.
Ant and Dec and Cat, the three of them, they've kind of made a programme that isn't really children's TV. It's just, if you get the joke, you get the joke. And something like Chums, there's a joke on every single level. If you're a 5-year-old, you can think it's funny. If you're 50, there might be a gag in there for you. If you're 25, it's funny as well.
Aunt, come on now. I've told you before, this really has to stop.
Thomas the Tank Engine steams straight into our chart at number 26. Thank God the Reverend Audrey dreamt him up before privatisation. Otherwise, Thomas would probably be stuck somewhere between Doncaster and York, and the Fat Controller would have walked off with his £500,000 golden handshake. Some progress, eh?
Why, you're late, and that smell is making me ill. I can't help it, it's the fish, replied Thomas.
And a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome indeed to another edition of Jim All Fix It.
If you want to sit in the mastermind chair or stand on an aeroplane's wing in the air.
If you want to play the slide trombone or operate a telephone.
If you want to read the classified scores or if you want to take applause, Jim will fix it.
Can I talk about Jim will Fix It without the kids on the ride at Blackpool Pleasure Beach?
Come on, boys, gather round, gather round. You know why this is a special day, boys?
Yes!
They were all sat down and they were all eating the lunch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And there's milkshakes, sandwiches, sausage rolls everywhere. Absolutely hilarious.
My favourite was the little fat chubby one. His little chubby cheeks would go like that while he was on the revolution, and his drink went all over his face. And I just thought, I'm going to get that now at school for the rest of my life. I'm going to look like the fat kid from the roller coaster.
Brilliant. What do you think? Have they deserved their Jim will Fix It badge? They never said no. No, they were crap.
5.
My name's Virgil, and I'm a bisexual.
4.
I would like to sleep with Lady Penelope.
3.
In her pink car.
2.
With Parker.
1.
That'd be nice.
Thunderbirds are go.
Has a unique look because of this crazy combination of puppet special effects and science fiction.
Okay, boys, that's the brief. It's our first assignment, so make it good. As you know, your uniforms are in your craft and must only be worn on call.
Right, Father.
For somebody who wanted to be a Steven Spielberg, it was pretty grim when I was asked to make puppet films. I really had no interest in puppets at all. So what I did was to make the puppet film as good as possible and as near to live action as possible.
Enough explosives to smash the atomic reactor.
Thinking that the broadcasters would say, we would give him something like a live action series, but of course the reverse happened. The better the puppet film, the more I got.
Jolly good show, old boy.
And what a show.
Are you okay, Virgil?
At the time, it was virtually impossible to sell a British show to America.
International Rescue. Lady Penelope speaking.
Require your assistance.
They would say that they couldn't understand our accents, so we used American voices.
Well, she's got a good start, Kirano. An education in the finest American university and a European tour to her credit.
So that when the shows went to America, they thought they were American shows, and they bought them.
Telephone for you, milady.
Hovis?
Yes, milady.
Why do you speak in that ridiculous accent?
It's the American idea of how the lower-class British officer speaks, milady.
We're closing in on him, milady.
Good, Parker.
For the first time, you get a good, strong female role model, which is Lady Penelope.
Mobile control, FAB.
And actually has a male employee to boss about, and clearly has her own career, is wealthy in her own right.
You called, milady?
She was a strange cross between Barbara Cartland and Mrs. Thatcher.
Go ahead, Parker.
In today's money, Thunderbirds cost £1 million an episode. There's nothing anywhere in the world, not any now, but over the past 35 years, that has the look of Thunderbirds. It's totally, totally unique.
Boys, I think we're in business.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat.
Here comes a real British superhero. Postman Pat. He delivers letters. He drives a red van. He has a cat.
We had 3-day weeks and strikes. Bin bags piling up. Bodies waiting to go to the morgue.
Pew, Pew, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble, Grubb.
But not in Trumpton. It was always lovely there.
People get quite upset when they have bets in pubs and things as to whether it's Hugh Pew, because they hadn't realised they were twin brothers, you see.
Fireman Pew and Pew. Sir, sir.
Gordon Murray wrote them, directed them. Gordon was quite canny because he shot them all in colour, when at that time there was only black and white television. And he had it in his mind that it was worth paying out for the colour. And it's paid off because they're still going, still showing.
Pasting up the posters, sticking up the bills, putting up advertisements for sausages and pills, flower shows and concerts, you can take your pick, all neatly stuck by Bill Sticker Nick.
Gordon took it upon himself, well, they did belong to him, to burn all the figures and I think all the sets, because he didn't want anyone else to get their hands on them, which is a bit of a shame. Could have done with just one as a little pension.
You're watching the 100 Greatest Kids TV Shows, and I'd just like to mention...
Get the cool. Get the cool
Welcome back to the 100 Greatest Kids TV Shows, the secret garden of children's television, for those of us who can plot our lives by Doctor Who's assistants and Blue Peter tortoises. Some things, though, have always stayed the same. Always have done. Always will. Blimey, I think that stuff I got off of Mr. Ben's shopkeeper's really starting to kick in.
Mud. Mud. All over the street, it sticks to your feet. It's mud.
Oh, yes. Maid Marian with Tony Robinson.
Raffle tickets! Who'll buy a raffle ticket? Fabulous prizes!
You, Cretin, what are your fabulous prizes?
A fabulous box of mud, 12 fabulous bottles of mud, and a fortnight's holiday for 2.
Where?
In some mud.
Tony Robinson played this, like, really dirty, filthy, a bit like Baldrick, I think.
Bullseye! What a shot, eh?
It was really, really funny. All the gags were spot on. And, of course, Maid Marian was very attractive.
Pardon?
See what a lusty staff I have.
Look, I don't want to be rude, Mr. Ron, but it's a very large bridge, and quite frankly, you're not exactly massive, are you?
This will go down in history as one of the best TV shows ever for kids.
Wasn't it funny? Wasn't it the most hysterically humorous thing you've ever seen in your entire lives?
Hey, you young man, I'm talking to you.
Into the top 20, and what a career curve for John Pertwee. 1 minute you're a Time Lord, the next you're a scarecrow with a pole stuck up your Aunt Sally. Can we get away with that?
Good evening, young man.
Good evening.
Sir. Good evening, sir. That's what you should say. Me being older than you.
Sorry. Good evening, sir.
It's well, either that, or as it may be, a good evening, Mr. Gummidge. That being my name.
I still think it's one of the great ideas that Bill and Joe have had.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones.
Putting on a sitcom show based on contemporary values with that twist, a wonderful twist of using prehistoric gimmickry.
Courtesy of Pretzel Beat. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba dabba do time. A dabba do time. We'll have a gay old time.
The Flintstones was unique as a nighttime, primetime cartoon for the whole family that was a half-hour length. It wasn't like the old-style 8-minute cartoon you used to see in movie theaters, and it was kind of based on a sitcom format, which was quite unique at the time.
Wilma, start packing plenty of sandwiches, eh?
What? Fred, one, just one. Will you try to forget that stomach of yours?
Oh, that's asking him to forget an awful lot, Wilma.
Fred was a bit divvy, and Barney was a bit divvy, but Barney's wife was hot. You know, he was banging a real hot cartoon chick. He was obviously getting it regular, and he was just like, oh, okay, Fred. He didn't care what Fred wanted to do, because at the end of the day, he'd go home and have it hot with this cartoon woman. And as a child, I thought, you know, when I grow up, that's the kind of woman I'd like.
It was on TV at 20 to 6, and the news began at 5:45. So everybody would be settled down with cups of tea and biscuits and whatever else, and it would be, shut up, kids, and watch the Wombles. I was given free rein completely with the voices. And the voices were easy in a way, because all I had to do was to read the script by Liza Beresford, and then look at the puppets. And you got the hierarchy and everything, and it was all there for you.
Tomsk, Wellington, and Bungo are ready to start work. And here's great Uncle Bulgaria.
I like Bulgaria very much. And I suppose he would have been my favourite.
Where is Orinoco?
The kids absolutely adored Orinoco, and I reckon that was because he was a skiver. He was always nicking off and playing truant.
Sorry, I was just having an extra 40 winks.
I'll just have 40 winks.
They prided themselves on having a very egalitarian society, that they were organised, they were into teamwork.
Yes, I'll go down here. Yes, stand at the end.
They were terribly multicultural. They were all named after places on Uncle Bulgaria's map of the world.
You'll have to work extra hard today because of the strong wind. And don't forget to bring me a copy of today's Times newspaper as soon as you find one. Now, to work.
They only used things that the everyday folk left behind.
Tomsk is busy already.
They never kind of sold out from that and moved on to only using things that the middle classes left behind.
Yeah. That's it. Oh, that wind. But how?
They did cause a lot of problems, I'm told, in Wimbledon on the Common, because children actually thought that they were real. They had to be dissuaded from walking about with a bag full of rubbish, throwing it under bushes in the hopes that a womble would pop out and pick it up.
What? Oh, goodness gracious me. Today's Times. Well done, Orinoco.
Who is this superhero? Sarge? No. Rosemary, the telephone operator? No. Henry, the mild-mannered janitor?
Could be. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy.
The thing about Hong Kong Phooey was that not only was he a dog, but he was also a janitor. When he was at work, he was doing very little. It was just a broom. There was no polishing, no wiping down. Fair enough, I'd rather have crime-free streets than like a clean office. But why not replace him? Why not get a real cleaner in and let him do crime fighting?
Hong Kong Phooey, fanrific.
It was just the most exciting thing. It was virtual reality on TV. I think it was the first time that had been done. It was sort of Dungeons and Dragons and Goblins and Trolls and, you know, nerdy Pratchett stuff like that. And it was quite witty as well.
Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to the Castle of Confusion.
You'd have these jobbing actors coming in who I'm sure, you know, more than embarrassed by it, pretend to be a jester and stuff and being a bit wacky and giving clues and stuff.
There is no correct route through the dungeon, but the right path can be found using logic and guile. Turn then, face the door, and take a step forward.
Where am I? You're in a reasonably large room. Ahead of you on the wall there are 2 doors with portcullises in them.
It was the first intelligent game show for kids, I would say. The first one where kids actually had to think.
There's a bomb lighted, David. Okay, you might
All right.
explode anything, get him through
Step
that.
forward, 1 step. Turn left. Walk forward. Walk forward. And another one.
Another one, quickly.
Quickly.
Quickly. Another one.
Bomb explosion
Just
imminent.
It was actually kids having to work out logistical problems and doing things. It was good, I think.
Farewell, David. You did well, but I'm afraid you came an awful cropper.
It's funny, Wallace and Gromit have just grown on me all the time, and the longer I spend away from them, the more I think about them.
The timing of it's brilliant, the script's brilliant, the characters are fantastic. Wallace and Gromit is, in terms of animation, is just an absolutely phenomenal achievement.
They started off with an idea for a kid's book, and originally Gromit was a cat. And it was when I made them in plasticine, I found that a dog seems to suit plasticine better than a cat.
Steady on. Wow! Gromit! Oh!
Wallace, you would think, with that bizarre mouth, that it wouldn't really be possible to have a character with many sort of visual expressions, you know.
In order to get his mouth wide enough, first of all, I've got to get those teeth out. And this is where I am in danger of moving the entire set.
Well, that went as well as could be expected, didn't it? Whoa! It's the wrong trousers, Gromit, and they've gone wrong. Stop them, Gromit! Stop them! Help me, Gromit!
You can make the figures do what any cartoon can do, and because you've got that flexibility to, to squash and flatten and, have characters whizzing through the air, and at the same time you can light it to look like a live-action movie. There's a sequence when Gromit's following the penguin through the street, and it's lit like, many kind of film noir movies that I used to watch on a Sunday afternoon. I had this idea for a train chase that would take place on the living room floor, on the model train. We had, miles of this track going around the studio, and we had a set, which was about 20 or 30 feet long.
Hang in there, Gromit! Everything's under control!
Well, the whole sequence took about 3 months to shoot.
That if you don't mind, eh?
Comic timing is probably the most essential element. That's what you can do with animation that is very hard to achieve with any other medium. Because you can time everything precisely and plan it and and execute it just at the right time.
Oh, mind the table, Gromit!
We're in the middle of writing a feature-length film with Wallace and Gromit right now, ready to go into production in about a year or so. So we haven't seen the last of them.
That's a boy, Gromit, lad. Well done. We did it. Ha ha.
For 60 years, they've been playing cat and mouse with us. The original Itchy and Scratchy, Tom and Jerry, have won an amazing 7 Oscars. Bet they can't agree on who gets to keep them, though.
The BBC wanted a new series for small children, and they liked the idea of doing a space series. So, you know, the problem was, what sort of space series would be suitable for small children? We didn't want battles in space and all that sort of thing. And there is one family, there's a family of clangers, there's Major, there's Mother, there's Tiny and Small, and of course there's also the Soup Dragon.
Just what is that, and what is it doing there?
The scripts were fully written out, and then Oliver Postgate and Stephen Sylvester sat down with their Swanee whistles and whistled it, so that, you know, you could really understand almost what they were saying. In fact, when Oliver and I went to Germany, Oliver showed them this film with no voices, just the actual whistles. And he said, I don't suppose you understood what was going on. And the German said, oh, yes, they are speaking perfect German. So whatever language people speak, they seem to think that the clangers are speaking their language. What came through in the clangers, I think, was Oliver's own ideas about peace, about living with your neighbours, about, you know, treating people with respect. And there's a lot of love in there, and I think the message comes through, really.
Good night, chicken. Good night, Tiny Clanger.
If your mansion house needs haunting, just call Rent-A-Ghost.
Yes, at number 12, The Exorcist meets the Chuckle Brothers in the shape of Rent-A-Ghost. Hilarious slapstick, that Timothy Claypole character, and Audrey Roberts out of Coronation Street.
You do not understand. I wish to make a proposal to all of you.
But you cannot marry all 3 of us. That would be big of you. Bigamy. That's what I say.
Well, that's the weather, and now late night lineup.
Some time ago, the magic roundabout was moved to an earlier time of 5 to 5, and a flood of letters poured into junior points of view. Here are just a few of them.
I am a dedicated Dougal fan, and I may probably never see him
in
again.
order to be home for this program. Yours in anticipation.
We beg you to reconsider and return the magic roundabout to its original time.
Zébulon, Zébulon. Zébulon, Zébulon, un petit tour à la façon des Zébulons, Tournicoton. Tu chantais 1, 2, 3. Aussi, pour changer un peu, je t'ai fait venir tout seul ici, Tournicotis. Tout s'est bien passé.
Trouble on the telly? Hector's house on fire? Baba gone home to Africa? We've got to find an announcer, said Florence, or no one will know what's going on.
What he totally ignored were the French scripts which were sent to him, but thrown out. He threw practically everything that was French out. He didn't approve of the French. So he just worked from the pictures.
Wake up, said Dougal. The Ice Age is upon us.
The French were a bit upset. They thought that he had called the dog de Gaulle, so that it was a kind of, he was being cheeky about their politics.
The weather forecast is as follows. If I lie down, it'll rain.
I'm supposed to be Ermintrude the cow, but I think that's just because I call everybody darling because my memory has never been good.
Was I lovely?
In my school playground, the rumour about Magic Roundabout was that each character was based on an addict to a particular kind of drug.
Drugs?
Dougal was the speed freak, always hoovering up the sugar. Dylan was on hash. Zebedee was on acid. Ermintrude must have been on the magic mushroom because she was eating stuff from the ground and her eyes would spin round and round and round. So that was the theory, although I'm sure Mr. Thompson would see it differently.
Absolute rubbish. I don't think Thompson even popped an aspirin.
Friends, said Florence. Viewers, she said. Time for bed, she said.
I loved the music. And my youngest daughter, I led her up the aisle to the strains of Magic Roundabout, which got an enormous laugh, which was very helpful for a marriage ceremony.
Time to rest just once more before we finish our long, long journey. The magical roundabout is slowing to a stop. Our odyssey is almost at an end. But we hope you'll return home with some treasured souvenir from this adventure, just like Mr. Ben at the end of every episode. You'd have thought by now the shopkeeper would have noticed half his stock missing, wouldn't you?
Get the cool. Get the cool to shine.
Praise the Lord and pass the sticky back plastic. It's time for the top 10 greatest kids' TV shows of all time. Shows whose stars burn ever brightly. Shows as good today as they ever were. Shows that are now widely available in Woolies for $9.99 with their logos embossed on Taiwanese lunchboxes.
And the Masters of the Universe.
It was a very unusual kids' programme in that the hero had very few vulnerabilities. When the hero picked up his sword and said,
By the power of Grayskull,
he basically then just slew all the baddies.
The real story is Mattel Toys.
That hook won't stop He-Man.
It was the first show where a manufacturer, a toy company, put money into a cartoon show, and it was a big campaign to sell to kids.
Now may the mightiest warrior win.
Buzz-Off and Whiplash, figures from the Masters of the Universe collection from Mattel.
You can't produce 65 episodes of an animated show if you don't already have money and if you're not sure it's going to succeed. How do you make sure it's going to succeed? You already have a toy that's very successful. Therefore, it's a safe investment to pump a whole bunch of money into making 65 episodes promoting that toy.
That away, He-Man.
I have a score to settle with Skeletor.
There wasn't this kind of thing you get with Spider-Man where he'd run out of his powers or he'd get captured. It was always just this relentless march of victory.
Thanks, He-Man!
You could see this kind of in America at the time, in the 1980s, when America was trying to take on the Soviet Union, present itself as this force for good against the evil empire. Very much this, you know, here we are, here's our sword, here's our strength, here's our power, and we're the masters of the universe. So you could see it's quite scary.
Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
Yes, Muffin. I'm sorry too.
I understand you have a little program idea called Drew.
It's, Doctor Who, sir.
It's a wonderful format for a television program because it can be anything and everything from... It's been a cowboy program, it's been historical, it's been hysterical, it's been forward in its thinking, it's been, you know, sideways and upside down in its thinking.
Humans on the bridge!
I'm not human!
Squad Delta under hit! From Renegade Daleks!
I was afraid of the Daleks. I didn't actually go to the lengths of hiding behind the settee, but I think if I met one today, I would still be scared.
Retreat!
It was the thought that there was someone in there, and that person was rather sinister.
My lure has worked! I shall order Daleks to detain him! No!
Davros was absolutely terrifying.
Give me the greater pleasure to watch his own curiosity deliver him into my hands.
This horrible sort of bald face. It was all snarled and, oh, it was awful.
How long do you envisage the show running?
26 years.
The best bit was the regeneration thing when one doctor would change into another, and it happened so rarely. It was really special.
Oh, so you're my replacements. A dandy and a clown.
That's the trouble with regeneration. You never quite know what you're going to get.
And you were just dying to see who the new Doctor Who would be. And then you'd be sitting there with all your mates going, it's not as good as the old one.
I wrote a letter to the BBC when I was very young, asking how each Doctor regenerated. And he just wrote back saying, yes, Ian, each Doctor regenerates. I suggest you look this up in a dictionary. Yours, people at the BBC. I thought, you miserable sods.
I don't want to do this show unless we get the most charismatic, talented actors to play the Doctor.
For the whole 26 years?
Yeah, towards the end, just any old an equity card.
It was the first of those teenage detective shows.
Man's best friend is a dog.
It was really spooky and creepy.
I wonder if they ever got up to anything sexual.
Scoobo, buddy, old friend, old pal, if you'll do that favor for me, I'll do something for you, too.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you.
They wanted a hippie to play Shaggy, and I wasn't sure I could do a hippie. And they kept calling me back, though, and after the third call back, they decided I was the voice of Shaggy.
Bail us out of these hay bales.
First thing first.
Zoinks! It's Mr. Carswell, the bank president.
Every single week they think it's a ghost, but it turns out, oh, it's just Mr. Simmons from the fair. Or, you know, it was the only person they met in the whole episode.
We've been doing this every week for 5 years, and it's never a ghost. It's always the bloke who owns the property that's being haunted. Why don't we just go straight to him?
There's the creeper. Well, I'll be. You kids have certainly wound up all the loose ends in this case. Blasted meddling kids.
Meddling kids. Pesky kids.
You meddling kids.
Scoobo, buddy, old friend, old pal, they would have gotten away with it if it weren't for us pesky kids, huh?
I thought it was going to be a 6 weeks job. 20 years later.
Up above the streets and houses, rainbow climbing high. Everyone can see it smiling over the sky.
Zippy, George and Bungle always got on very well together as characters.
Pardon, Zippy?
How would you make a sick pig better? You rub its chest with ointment.
Was he supposed to be Zippy? I don't know.
A comedian! Oh, well, that's what I want to be.
People ask me sometimes, what did I base the voice on? I used to say Margaret Thatcher, and Ian cross between Margaret Thatcher and Ian Paisley.
Don't you think that's funny? No, I don't.
George was very cuddly, very sweet, and he was a fella. I mean, some people think he was possibly a girl, but no, I always thought of him as a guy.
Hello, George. Hello, Bobby. Are you going to do me now? Yes, I am.
George from Rainbow, I mean, he was this pink hippo. I seem to remember he had these big eyelashes that he'd bat all the time, and he was, you know, slightly more butch than Julian Clary, but he was just screaming, basically.
Give me a kiss. Oh, a kiss? I'm a bit shy.
People say, oh, you don't do both the voices, and I used to say, yes, I do. And they say, well, you do them separately. And I said, no. Because I used to love it when I got a script when they'd have an argument.
But he tells funny jokes. Well, so do I. Now you shut up, George, because no, I'm not good. Yes, you are. No, I'm not, because if now listen, I'm Rick. I can't tell you what. Well, come on. What do short-sighted ghosts wear? Spookticles.
The bed became a big joke, and who was going on the outside, and yes, I suppose I can say this, and we used to have a joke about, oh, Zippy's fart, and no, it's not me, it's George. This sort of thing happened, yes.
Snuggle down. And Zippy, don't keep everybody awake with your jokes.
As characters, I don't know if I got too attached to them. They were just, don't tell anybody, but they were just puppets, you know.
Good night.
Good night, Zippy. Zippy, don't keep everyone awake with your jokes.
He was very British, and the street which he lived in was a typical row of houses that you find in Britain. And that street was the street in which I lived at the time. It was in Putney, still in Putney. I changed the name very slightly because it was called Festing Road. I changed it to Festive Road.
Festive Road was quiet. Inside number 52, Mr. Ben was sitting down, thinking. Perhaps I may even visit the costume shop and have another adventure.
The facade was a very normal bloke who would go down to an ordinary clothes shop and he'd see the shopkeeper and he'd go into the change room and suddenly he'd be transported into another world. And it was that sense of going from the mundane to the exciting which kind of really grabs children's imagination.
Mr. Benn walked through the door, wondering if he would come into a circus ring.
It came out of the 60s. The whole period was pretty escapist one way or another. I think people were really finding themselves again.
As if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared.
Not once did Mr. Benn actually purchase anything from that shop. And why the shopkeeper kept letting this loser in, I had no idea.
Mr. Benn took the outfit into the fitting room.
He looked like this sort of civil servant, but the sort of civil servant that you knew is going to be caught up sooner or later in some sort of sex scandal. I mean, if anyone was coming out of the closet, it was Mr. Benn. I think he did it every week.
He looked at himself in the mirror. Then he looked for the other door, the door that always led to adventures.
I started making them in 1970. There were 13, 15-minute films. And most people are surprised that there were only 13.
Colourful birds flew past.
One of the questions that I get asked about quite a bit is, was he tripping? Was he on drugs? Is it really about that?
A flying carpet, said Mr. Benn.
Yeah, child of the 60s it was, Mr. Benn. And probably if he wasn't tripping, he was the only one who wasn't.
From the opening piece of music, which was bow bow bow, boom, you're in. You're off, you're rocking. Now here's the cartoon, you're flying through, and then of course there's like a fight in the canteen and the sausage goes in and it just all kicks off, and that was almost the best bit of Grange Hill.
I was really trying to find a killer idea as a writer, you know, to make my name.
You just ruined my map, you pig. And don't you flippin' well call me a monkey either.
Why not? You stay at the trees, ain't you?
And it just dawned on me one day when I was going into employment exchange, and why not write about schools, because everybody has to go to school, everybody has to attend, and it doesn't matter what the socio-economic class is, whatever the geographical position is.
There hadn't been a contemporary school story. Any school stories that there had been about boarding schools and things like that, and there was nothing that was relevant to then.
Can you remember that lady who came and gave us that sex education talk? She said, when you get older and you have babies, it gets better. Flipping it. Who wants to have babies just to get rid of period pains?
The girls were genuinely moody and wore makeup to school and got sent home and didn't care. There were some genuine rebels on there. You know, most of them bunked off school and were glue sniffing and stuff like that. It was brilliant.
Don't. It's part of people's lifestyle. People over 30 always shout Tucker. You know, people under it obviously shout Mark. But anyone who's old enough to remember it always shouts Tucker, and it always cheers my heart. Where'd you get it from, Tucker? Sweet shop there, their road. He was a sort of larger-than-life character who could get away with lots of things. He could be cheeky, all the things that I couldn't get away with in real life. And I thought, yeah, I fancy some of that.
It was seen as groundbreaking because it was exactly what I chased for, which was real kids with real working-class accents dealing with kind of real issues and real incidents in their schools.
Samo!
Parents didn't think that schools were like that, and politicians didn't think that the BBC should be doing things of that nature.
What's up with her? She's got the arm. I've not. Yes, you have. She don't know whether she should let Andy...
You bitch! But the kids liked it, all right.
Young love.
Everyone goes on about how gritty and realistic it was, but actually it's so not gritty and realistic.
You haven't come to, you know, take it away, have you?
They rescue donkeys and keep them in sheds on the school grounds. Now, I went to a South London comprehensive, and if people at our school had discovered a donkey on the school playing fields, they would not have gone off and got a shed. They probably would have slaughtered it in some kind of ridiculous ritual, smeared themselves in blood, like Lord of the Flies.
Flippin' heck, Benny. Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily.
30 years ago,